The marble floors of Mom's penthouse apartment gleamed under the crystal chandelier as my sister Jessica twirled in her latest designer dress, a $3,000 Valentino creation that would grace next week's charity gala. I sat quietly on the Italian leather sofa, watching my family prepare for another evening of conspicuous consumption funded entirely by my bank accounts. "Sophia, you really should invest in some better clothes," Mom said, eyeing my simple black dress with familiar disdain. "At 28 you can't keep dressing like a college student. It's embarrassing for the family." I nodded politely, accustomed to these fashion critiques from someone whose entire wardrobe was purchased with my money. What Mom didn't realize was that my college student outfit cost more than her monthly car payment. I simply preferred understated elegance to the gaudy displays that characterized our family gatherings. Jessica laughed, adjusting her diamond earrings in the ornate mirror. "At least I have a real career that contributes to society. Being a doctor actually matters, unlike whatever Sophia does with computers all day." The comment stung as intended. For 6 years my family had dismissed my work as some tech thing, while Jessica's medical residency earned constant praise and financial support. What they didn't understand was that my computer work had generated over $40 million in software licensing deals, while Jessica's residency salary barely covered her student loan interest. Dad emerged from his home office, straightening his Hermes tie. "The cars are arriving in 10 minutes. Jessica, you look stunning. Your mother and I are so proud to have a daughter making real contributions to the medical field." "What about Sophia?" Jessica asked with mock concern. "Shouldn't she be proud too?" Dad glanced at me with the casual dismissal I'd grown to expect. "Of course we're proud of Sophia. She does her best with her limitations. Not everyone can be a surgeon." The limitations he referenced were my supposed lack of ambition and professional success, assumptions my family had maintained despite clear evidence to the contrary. They'd somehow convinced themselves that Jessica was the successful daughter while I was the family underachiever who required ongoing financial support. What made their delusion particularly remarkable was how they'd explained their sudden wealth over the past 6 years. According to family lore, Dad's investments had finally paid off, Mom's art collection had appreciated dramatically, and Jessica's medical career had opened doors to lucrative opportunities. They'd created an elaborate fiction to explain their luxury lifestyle without acknowledging the quarterly transfers from my business accounts. "The charity auction should be interesting tonight," Mom said, applying final touches to her makeup. "I'm bidding on that lovely Monet sketch. It would look perfect in the foyer. The Monet would cost approximately $80,000, money that would come from my account, though Mom would claim credit for her sophisticated art investments when friends admired her growing collection." "Don't bid against Mrs. Whitmore," Jessica advised. "Her husband's hedge fund is having a good year, and she's been buying everything lately." I almost smiled. Mrs. Whitmore's husband's good year was nothing compared to the royalty checks I received monthly from software patents, but my family had no idea that their despised computer work had generated more wealth than most hedge funds. "Sophia, you're being unusually quiet," Dad observed. "Are you feeling well? You're not having more of those stress headaches, are you?" The stress headaches were his explanation for my occasional absences from family events, times when I was actually in Silicon Valley negotiating deals or meeting with venture capital firms. He'd pathologized my success as a health condition, unable to conceive that his underachieving daughter might have professional obligations more demanding than theirs. "I'm fine, Dad. Just thinking about work." "Well, try not to let your little job stress you out too much," Mom said kindly. "Remember, family is what really matters. Money isn't everything." The irony was breathtaking. She spoke about money not mattering while wearing jewelry worth more than most people's annual salaries, all purchased with funds she thought materialized from thin air. Tomorrow's meeting with the financial investigator would provide an excellent opportunity to clarify exactly where their money actually originated. Build up. The charity gala proceeded as expected, my family mingling with Boston's elite, spending lavishly on auction items, and accepting compliments about their obviously successful lifestyle. I watched from the margins as they played their roles perfectly. Dad the astute investor, Mom the sophisticated collector, Jessica the brilliant young doctor whose bright future justified every expense. "Your family seems to be doing very well," observed Margaret Chin, a venture capitalist I'd worked with extensively, She didn't know about our family relationship, but she'd noticed the Valentino dress and Harry Winston jewelry. Medical practice must be quite lucrative these days. Something like that, I replied, watching Jessica bid $40,000 on a vacation package she'd charged to my American Express card. What my family didn't realize was that their conspicuous consumption had attracted exactly the kind of attention successful people prefer to avoid. When you suddenly transition from middle-class living to penthouse apartments and designer clothes, people notice. When your supposed income source can't possibly support your lifestyle, people ask questions. Over the following weeks, those questions intensified. Dad's friends at the country club wondered how his modest consulting business supported such dramatic lifestyle changes. Mom's art dealer expressed curiosity about the sudden influx of high-end purchases. Jessica's medical colleagues noticed that her residency salary couldn't possibly fund her luxury apartment and designer wardrobe. The cognitive dissonance was becoming unsustainable. They needed a plausible explanation for wealth they couldn't legally possess, and their fictional narratives were growing increasingly elaborate. Dad claimed to have made prescient cryptocurrency investments. Mom insisted her art collection had appreciated exponentially. Jessica suggested that medical consulting provided lucrative side income. Each explanation was more ridiculous than the last, but they seemed to believe their own stories. They'd spent so many years dismissing my actual success that acknowledging my financial contributions would shatter their fundamental understanding of our family hierarchy. "We need to discuss the wedding budget," Jessica announced during Sunday brunch at their favorite restaurant, a place where meals cost more than minimum wage workers earned in a week. She'd recently gotten engaged to Dr. Marcus Webb, a fellow surgeon whose trust fund made him attractive to someone accustomed to luxury. "How exciting!" Mom exclaimed. "We should spare no expense. The medical community will be watching, and this family has always maintained certain standards." Dad nodded approvingly while cutting his $50 Wagyu steak. "What kind of budget are we considering?" "I'm thinking $300,000 for the venue, flowers, catering and photography. Maybe more if we want a really spectacular location." Jessica's casual mention of a sum that exceeded most people's annual income demonstrated how completely disconnected they'd become from financial reality. "That seems reasonable," Dad agreed. "My recent investments have been performing well, and your mother's art collection continues appreciating. We can certainly afford to celebrate properly." I nearly choked on my coffee. Dad's recent investments consisted primarily of golf club memberships and expensive dinners, while Mom's art collection had been purchased entirely with my money. Their delusions about their own wealth had reached truly impressive levels of self-deception. "What about Sophia?" Jessica asked with false concern. "Can she afford to be in the wedding party? I know her little computer job doesn't pay very well, and bridesmaid dresses can be expensive." The question was designed to emphasize my supposed financial inferiority while highlighting Jessica's generous inclusion of her struggling sister. The irony was that Jessica's entire wedding would be funded by my little computer job, but pointing that out would spoil the surprise I'd been planning for months. "Don't worry about Sophia," Mom said kindly. "We'll help her with whatever she needs. Family takes care of family regardless of circumstances." Their condescending generosity was touching, especially since the help they offered would come from my own money. I'd spent 6 years funding their luxury lifestyle while listening to lectures about my supposed career limitations and financial inadequacies. The breaking point came when they started planning Jessica's engagement party, another lavish affair that would cost more than most people's cars. They discussed venues, catering and entertainment with the casual entitlement of people who'd never questioned where their money originated. "I want something really memorable," Jessica explained. "Marcus comes from old money, and his family has certain expectations about how we celebrate milestones." "Of course, darling," Mom agreed. "The Hartwell family has always known how to host elegant events. Money is no object when it comes to important celebrations." Money was no object because it wasn't their money, a detail they'd apparently forgotten after 6 years of spending my earnings while dismissing my professional achievements. Tomorrow's meeting with the financial investigator would provide an excellent opportunity to refresh their memories about our family's actual financial structure. Revelation. The conference room at Morrison & Associates, one of Boston's most prestigious financial investigation firms, commanded respect with its mahogany paneling and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. I'd requested this meeting months ago, anticipating that my family's spending patterns would eventually require professional documentation. David Morrison himself handled high-profile cases involving financial fraud, money laundering, and asset disputes. His reputation for thorough investigation and uncompromising accuracy made him the perfect choice for exposing financial delusions. Ms. Hartwell, Morrison began, spreading documents across the polished conference table, our investigation into your family's financial situation has yielded some remarkable findings. I'd invited my family to attend this routine financial planning session, describing it as an opportunity to optimize their investment strategies and coordinate their various income sources. They'd arrived expecting to discuss portfolio management and tax planning, not to confront the fundamental lies underlying their lifestyle. Dad sat confidently in his custom-tailored suit, ready to discuss his supposed business success. Mom adjusted her Cartier watch, prepared to explain her art investment strategies. Jessica checked her phone, expecting a brief meeting before her shift at the hospital. Before we begin, Morrison continued, I should clarify that this investigation was commissioned by Ms. Sophia Hartwell to analyze the financial relationships within your family unit. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees as they processed this information. Our forensic accounting reveals a fascinating pattern, Morrison said, opening his laptop to display a comprehensive financial analysis. Over the past 6 years, this family has maintained a combined lifestyle costing approximately $1.2 million annually. Penthouse rent, luxury vehicles, designer clothing, fine dining, travel, and miscellaneous expenses. Charts and graphs appeared on the presentation screen, documenting every aspect of their consumption with mathematical precision. Dr. Jessica Hartwell's medical residency generates approximately $60,000 annually, before taxes and student loan payments. Mr. David Hartwell's consulting business shows revenue of roughly $40,000 last year. Mrs. Catherine Hartwell has no documented income source. The numbers hung in the air like an indictment. Simple arithmetic made their lifestyle mathematically impossible. This creates an obvious question. How does a family with a combined legitimate income of $100,000 maintain expenses exceeding $1 million annually? Dad cleared his throat, his confidence wavering. Well, there have been some successful investments and Catherine's art collection has appreciated significantly. Morrison's smile was professionally polite but devastating. Our investigation found no evidence of successful investments, cryptocurrency holdings, or art appreciation. In fact, we found something quite different. New documents appeared on the screen: bank transfers, account statements, credit card payments. 6 years of financial transactions traced with forensic precision. Every expense supporting your family's lifestyle, every rent payment, car lease, credit card bill, and luxury purchase, originates from accounts controlled by Ms. Sophia Hartwell. Her software development company, Hartwell Solutions, has generated over $40 million in revenue through licensing agreements with major technology corporations. The silence was absolute. 6 years of assumptions crumbling in real time as they confronted documentation that couldn't be dismissed or explained away. Ms. Hartwell has personally funded your entire lifestyle while you've dismissed her professional achievements as insignificant. The quarterly transfers you've received average $200,000 each, money you've apparently forgotten originated from her business success. Morrison turned to address my family directly. The daughter you've called the poor one has been your sole source of income for 6 years. Without her financial support, you would have lost your apartment, cars, and luxury lifestyle within months. Jessica's face had gone pale. That's impossible. Sophia works with computers. I'm the one with the real career. Ms. Hartwell's computer work has made her one of the most successful software developers in the country. Her professional achievements include patents worth millions and consulting contracts with Fortune 500 companies. Meanwhile, you're a medical resident whose student debt exceeds your annual income. Resolution. The aftermath was immediate and devastating. Within hours of Morrison's presentation, my family's understanding of their situation had completely reversed. The daughter they dismissed as unsuccessful was revealed as their sole source of financial security, while their own achievements were exposed as insufficient to support their basic living expenses. Dad's first response was denial, followed by angry demands for documentation, then desperate attempts to rationalize 6 years of mathematical impossibility. Mom's reaction was more emotional. Years of believing she was the sophisticated art collector were shattered by evidence that every purchase had been made with my money. Jessica's response was the most complex. Learning that her despised sister was actually subsidizing her medical education while she boasted about having a real career created cognitive dissonance that took weeks to resolve. The financial consequences were swift. I terminated all family credit cards, stopped the quarterly transfers, and revoked access to accounts they'd treated as family resources. Within a month, they faced the reality of living on their actual incomes for the first time in 6 years. Their luxury lifestyle collapsed overnight. The penthouse apartment became unaffordable, forcing them into modest housing that reflected their real financial situation. Designer wardrobes were quietly sold to cover basic expenses. Country club memberships lapsed when the bills couldn't be paid. Jessica's engagement to Dr. Webb ended when she could no longer maintain the lifestyle that had attracted him. The lavish wedding they'd planned became impossible when they realized the bride's family couldn't actually fund such extravagance. They attempted reconciliation, of course. Tearful apologies about misunderstanding my contributions, promises to respect my achievements, appeals to family loyalty. But I'd learned that respect emerging only after financial revelation isn't genuine respect. The software licensing deals continue generating substantial revenue. My consulting work has expanded internationally. The patents I developed provide ongoing royalty income. All achievements they dismissed as unimpressive computer work, while spending the profits. Sometimes the most important audit reveals not financial fraud, but emotional deception that's lasted far too long. Truth is the most valuable currency, and unlike family approval, it can't be bought with someone else's money.